So we're gonna get started in a few minutes. What I always do, oh, we only have two people here. We'll see how many people show up today. Hopefully we'll get a good amount. I know we have like a lot of seniors, so I only imagine that we're only gonna get a few people today. Um, but let's see. Hopefully we can get a few people to show up today. I always make awards for everyone every year. They're very good. They're very funny. But like I think we have like 14 or something seniors in this class. So I don't imagine that we'll get more than like 10 people today. So we're gonna get started around 8:50 or so. Um, and then and then I will start giving out our awards this year. Hopefully we'll get a good amount. I think it's more fun when we get more than when we get a few people. Yeah, so they're very good. The awards are very good. They're very good. So yeah, for those of you just joining, we're gonna get started around 8:50 or so. We're gonna give people a chance to join in. I always make awards for everyone this year. So always make awards for all of my students. So we're just gonna wait a few minutes and then we're gonna get started. We have like 14 seniors or something in this class, so I don't imagine that we're gonna get more than like 10 people today. I told some of them that if they want to get their awards, they should come, but it's 8:45 in the morning, so we'll see if any of them show up. It's a shame. I spent a lot of time making these. They're very good. During a normal year, I would have given them out in person on the last day of school, but because we were on Zoom, I wanted to give people a chance to more work time. So we're just going to give them out today during finals week. A little bit lamer, but but still, I think it's a good way to end the year, I think. So yeah, we're going to take a couple more minutes for people to join on in these awards. I would give them a 10 out of 10 for quality and humor. I think I'm a very funny person. But that could just be me. That could be my opinion. Um, um, I did spend a lot of time in these first periods was really good. I think our period is also really good as well. But we don't have as many people as first period, so the reactions won't be as wild. I think I think it'll be more of a silent appreciation. So we're gonna get started around in a few minutes, around 8:50 or so. Give people a chance to join on in. Um, yeah, everyone gets an award. Every single person. That also includes every single person in all of my 5 periods. So making 150, 40 or 50 awards is not very easy, especially when you try to make them funny and all different from each other. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We're gonna get started in around 3 minutes or so, around 8:50. Dang, yeah, dang. You should you try making 140 awards. You try it. It's not very easy. Um, it's also very easy to just like go with the very generic ones, like best attendance or submitted everything on time on Zoom. Those are very lame and those are not very original and those are not very funny. So it's more original, more funny when you put more time into it. Um, Yes, I did make awards for everyone. So you don't know which ones won't be yours. Okay, so yeah, so I mean we're actually pretty close to getting full attendance here, which is kind of weird. We only have 12 people. That's because I think we have 14 seniors in the class.
So you at least you don't have to deal with like 10 pets. Yes, I have. My family has 10 pets.
Yeah.
What animals do you have?
So
What?
What animals do you have?
I have a bird. Actually, 2 birds. Both of them belong to my sister. A cat, 2 dogs, a lizard, and I don't know. I forget.
Did you say your sister?
Yeah, I have 2. My sister.
Oh.
Never mind. Was just not.
I want to get started in another minute or so. We can give people a chance to join in. We are pretty close to maxing out our attendance here. By the way, yeah, we're pretty close to full attendance today, which is a shame. Which is a shame. I made awards for all the seniors too. I am recording this so that way they can see what they got. But yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame. I made awards for all the seniors too. They're really good. Okay, so we're just gonna get started now. And then if you know anyone as a senior, you can always tell them your award. Okay, so welcome to the, I guess, first annual. I did these last year too, but last year was kind of lame because it was also over Zoom and not many people showed up, which is the same because I put a lot of work into last year's. But this year's I think should also be very good. Okay, so the first award I'm gonna be giving out is for a student who, let's just say, struggled with connection issues the entire year. I would say they probably were here for maybe at most 40 or 50% of the classes. And out of those, they may or may not have disconnected out of 50% of those. So the amount of internet that they had was very limited, which is good because we are on virtual learning. So it's not like having internet is very important for Zoom learning. So the student who is most likely to sue Comcast for having bad Wi-Fi goes to Lucy. And this is because Lucy's Wi-Fi was really bad all year. She was always disconnecting and stuff. And I would ask like Ella and Tyler, where's Lucy today? And then they'd be like, she has having some connection issues. So therefore, I deem Lucy to be most likely to sue Comcast for bad Wi-Fi. And it's also a good thing that classes are all virtual this year, right? Because it's not like having all virtual classes it's not like internet's important for virtual classes, right? So yeah. So the next award goes to someone who once upon a time, and so one time there's one student came into office hours. I think this was on a Friday, maybe around 4 or 5 p.m. So usually, so if you don't know, I usually have office hours from 2:40 to 3:40. So when we're at 5 p.m. on a Friday, there's not much learning going on anymore, and it just sort of becomes, just like the productivity goes to an all-time low. And so this one student joined in at 5 p.m. I think, not because they wanted to, not because they had a physics question, but because they actually wanted to play Among Us. They're like, I want to play. Can I come to office hours just to play Among Us? And I'm like, sure. I guess I guess you can. So this, I remember I was helping out a couple of people before. I was helping out a couple people before, and then they joined in and they just started playing Among Us at like a 5 p.m. on a Friday. So the student who is most likely to come to office hours to play Among Us goes to Evelyn, because that's a pretty sus thing to do, I think. Very sus. Yeah, Evelyn gets the most likely to come to office hours to play Among Us award. The next award goes to someone who, so if you're the type of person, if you check the chat every day during fifth period, there's always one student who asks how I'm doing every day. And there's also and if you don't know, there's also a Friends character who is notorious for using the phrase "How you doing?" If you never watched Friends before, that may be a boomer thing, that may be a millennial thing, but Friends is an all-time great TV show. You should definitely watch it if you've never watched Friends before. But there is a character in it who has a phrase that's "How you doing?" And it's very, 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 very notorious. He's very notorious for doing that. So the award for the Joey Tribbiani Award, which is Joey Tribbiani is the main character from Friends, one of the main characters from Friends, who always says, "How you doing?" And so the Joey Tribbiani Award goes to Miguel. And this is because Miguel says, "How you doing?" to Mr. Who every single day. He always tries to come up with something original. Mr. Who always struggles to come up with a clever reply for that. So the Joey Tribbiani Award goes to Miguel, saying "How you doing?" every morning. The next award goes to, so as you all probably know, I don't really have a late policy. The general policy is as long as you turn it in before the end of the semester, you're pretty much good to go. So for a lot of people, that's like good, because it adds a lot of flexibility. And it's in general, it's like, it's one of those things where, there's not a lot of restrictions there. So you can pretty much turn it in any time, as long as it's good to go. And so some students, they prioritize other classwork and other stuff like that. So physics sort of comes at the end. So what ends up happening is they turn in a lot of work at the very last minute. There's no penalty for it, and they always end up doing very well because their work is very good. It's just that, it's just funny because they turn in their stuff. So they won't turn anything the whole year, and then they'll turn everything at the very end. So the student who's most likely to submit an assignment 1 minute before it's due goes to Jack. Jack's, this isn't because at 12 o'clock, because for Jack, a 12 o'clock deadline really means 11:59. So this is for you, Jack.
Damn straight. Thank you, sir.
No problem. So the next award goes to the student who made it their mission to finish their assignments as fast as possible. So for a lot of people, they usually like to take their time with assignments. They like to, really try to think things out, take their time. This one student, I think they made their mission to finish all their assignments as fast as possible. And so the award for most likely to speedrun an assignment goes to Jose, who for setting a new world record for a bunch of assignments in the class. Jose really loved to just try to speed run through all the assignments and do them as fast as possible. Mostly because he's just like, but the faster I finish it, the faster I'm done with physics. So that's a great attitude to have. Yeah. The next award is kind of ironic. The next award kind of interesting because what they told me was that everyone in their family got. So I think from what I understand, you guys have like senior pop polls or senior superlatives or something. And those are the stuff like, most likely to, be president or whatever, right? And I think this person, they had two siblings who all got the superlative. If I remember correctly, they all got the superlative most likely to fall asleep in class. And so because of this, they really wanted to make sure that they went 3 for 3, that all 3 of the siblings won the superlative. That being said, I don't know if they actually won it this year. I don't know anything about it. But if they didn't get it for the regular senior pop poll, I wanted to make sure that they got it for this class. So the most likely to fall asleep in class goes to Ella. And Ella, that's because now you can say your family went 3 for 3. In terms of falling asleep in class. It's kind of funny because I don't think Ella's actually fallen asleep in our class. But it's funny because she actually wanted this award because her family went 3 for 3. And she wants to go 3 for 3 for her family and her siblings. So for the next award, there is, so if you don't know, actually, if you probably do know, I'm like, let's just say I'm not very good at taking attendance. I tend to, forget to take attendance when I'm supposed to. And nowadays, what happens is you guys get a phone call or something saying that you were absent or something for some periods. And I think I'm. Hold on, someone's. Hold on, someone's. Yes. So you get a phone call nowadays for not being in class that day. Now so 5th period for me sort of gets the short end of the stick. I usually don't miss I usually take attendance for 1st period, but I tend to forget for 5th period. And so what ends up happening is a lot of you guys will get phone calls or something saying that you were not in class. And, I think most of you are well aware that, I'm just bad at taking attendance. So it's like, you don't really say anything. But this one student really made sure that every single time I missed taking attendance, they made sure to let me know for doing that. Let me know that they forgot to take attendance that day. So the award for most likely to remind Mr. Hu that he forgot to take attendance goes to Helene. Don't worry, Helene, I did take attendance today. But yeah, Helene made sure to remind me every single time that I forgot to take attendance. I think I may have even forgotten to take attendance like a week or 2 ago. So for those of you, the reason why most of you guys don't have a lot of absences in this class is because Helene told me to take attendance. I had to fix a lot of things. So yeah, if any of you guys become a teacher, you'll realize that taking attendance is very difficult. Not difficult, it's more annoying. It's just like they're here, but I don't want to mark them as them being here. So yeah, thank you, Helene, for carefully reminding me to take attendance every single day. So the next award is actually going to go to a group of 2. And that's because this group of 2 they more or less function as a group of 2 the entire year. So only giving one of them this award is sort of, not fair for the both of them. Now, for those of you who don't know, for those of you who are sort of are familiar with office hours, you usually come in and you ask for you have a question on something, and then usually I try to help you out with your question. Now this group of two students, they come into office hours, and then instead of asking me a question, they just sort of answer their own questions. It's kind of funny actually, because I always just end up saying, like, they always say like, "Thank you, Mr. Hu," and then I'll be like, "I didn't really do anything. You guys answered your own questions." And so, the two students who were getting the award for most likely to come to office hours and answer their own questions goes to Raphael and Russell. And this is because every time they say, "I have a question, Mr. Hu," they end up saying, "JK, I don't. I answered it myself." So yeah, every time they come in office hours, I really just don't have to do much because they just answer the questions themselves. I would argue that they don't even have to come in office hours to do so, but I think that they just like spending time with Mr. Hu, so it's fun for them, I think.
This is true.
Yeah. But the amount of times they came into office hours and answered their own questions is actually hilarious. So yeah. So the next award goes to someone who is an avid Redditor. If you don't know what Reddit is like I guess, I don't know, what would you call it? A social media platform, I guess. It's, some people call it, I think they self-describe themselves as being the homepage of the internet. But basically you post something and then people will give you upvotes for it, which upvotes are basically likes on it. And people love to get likes on stuff. And this one student is a very avid Redditor and very avid memer, and they know their digital stuff. So the student who's most likely to fish for upvotes goes to Jaime. And this is because internet points are the best kind of points. Why get real life points when you can get internet points instead? So Jaime, this is for you, for being such an avid Redditor, being the most likely to fish for upvotes on something. You can start, if any of you guys are Redditors, you can always start a subreddit for me. I will definitely be honored. Okay. Actually, no, that'd be weird. That'd be funny though. Okay, so the next award goes to someone who, as you may or may not know, I am a somewhat avid gamer. By somewhat, I mean definitely. And one of the games I played is a lot of COD. And this student, I've talked with COD about with them all the time. We would always talk about the new Warzone thing or the new Zombies thing. And so the award that the person who is most likely to 1v1 Mr. Hu in COD goes to George. This one's for you, George. You can always 1v1 me, but only if it's Rust and quick scopes only. So if you ever want to 1v1 me, George, go ahead. So yeah, most likely 1v1 me in COD is George. Quick scopes only though. I'm actually really bad at quick scoping. If you guys know what that is. But yeah. The next award is someone who. So the next award goes to someone who is my only student in person on Thursdays, I think. They're the only one who's in person on Thursdays, and so usually on Thursdays, when no one is here, it gets a little quiet. I don't really have anyone to talk to, and I'm the kind of person that needs someone to bounce my own words off of, and so whenever this person comes in on Thursdays, they always make my day. They always also stomp their feet really loudly. It's like they like drag the like Birkenstocks as they come in. It's like boom, boom, boom. And they always like stomp as they come in. And so the student who is most likely to make Mr. Hu's day goes to Katie. And this is also because Katie just literally just like it's like I can hear her from like 20 feet away as she's walking into class. I just know exactly who that is. And so this one goes to Katie. Katie, don't, as a positive note, you are most likely to make my day. And that's because you stomp your feet really hard as you come in. I think it's really funny. Yeah. So the next award goes to someone who a lot of times there's been many times during the semester and throughout the year where they sort of like start panicking in physics. They're like, I don't think I'm doing well. Like, I need to turn in stuff. Like, I don't think I'm doing well. But it's always funny because I'll always tell them, hey, I think you're actually doing really well. Your grade's fine. You're going to finish it with a good grade in the class. But they've done it so many times in the year, but they're just like, always panicking, even though they're doing really well. So the most likely to panic in physics, even though she's doing really well, goes to Maria. And it's a really good thing that's really easy to understand your grade in my class. That's really what makes it a lot easier to, not panic in class, right? So this one goes to Maria. It's always funny because Maria is always doing really well in the class, but she's always like, I don't think I'm doing very well. And I'll have to tell her, I think you're actually doing fine. Obviously, that's partly due to the fact that my grading system is really easy to understand. So that's really helpful for all of you guys, right? So yeah, most likely to panic in physics, even though she's doing real well, goes to Maria. The next award goes to someone who I've actually had a very avid discussion. Well, avid pun, but actually they're not an avid, so it's not much of a pun. This person I had very, very very enthusiastic discussion about the finances of sports. And this one student who was very adamant about maintaining about being financially responsible and making sure that they are taking good care of their money. And this student, wants to become an athlete. More specifically, they want to play in the NFL. And so the award for the first NFL player to not go broke goes to JoJo, because JoJo was really insistent on being good with his finances and knowing how to spend his money properly and knowing how to save and not buying jewelry and chains and cars and stuff, but instead investing it in stocks and stuff. So the first NFL player to not go broke goes to JoJo. And for all of you kids, this is why math is important. So, yeah. If you're ever unsure why you should learn math, it's because it's good for your money. So the next student loves physics so much that they sometimes come to physics twice, once during 5th period and once during 4th period. And that's because physics is such a fun class that you would definitely want to come in twice. So the student who is most likely to sit in physics twice goes to Rebecca. I think Rebecca is friends with someone in 4th period, and then one time she just like she was like Joanna is my 4th period, and Joanna was like, guess who's here? And I'm like, I have no idea. And it turns out it was Rebecca, and it turns out that they were both on a trip to Idaho. So I'm gonna so obviously because physics is so much fun, Rebecca decided that coming to physics twice was worth it, and this is definitely not because she was put on the spot by Joanna. So the student who's most likely to sit in physics twice goes to Rebecca, and this is because physics is so fun that once isn't enough. Also, when you go to physics twice, that means you also have twice the opportunity to regret everything, or regret all the decisions you made. So yeah. The next student is someone who is, let's just say, an avid. I keep using the word avid. They're also not an avid, which is really funny. I keep using the word avid. They are a very, what's the word? Prolific animal enthusiast. They have a frog. They have a lizard. They have a frog. They have a lizard. And this is something that they told me very early on in the year, that they told me stories about the frog and the lizard. They tell me about how I think their lizard or something ate their previous lizard or something, and how it was very challenging managing that. And now they actually have many more animals other than the frog and the lizard. And so the award for most likely to start a zoo goes for Hank. And this is because for Hank, the frog and a lizard, they barely scratch the surface of all the animals that he and his family have. I think Hank earlier in the class literally was talking about how his sister had a bunch of animals too. So I think if anything, Hank already has a zoo right now. Hank, can you tell us again how many animals you have in your house? I think earlier Hank was saying that he had like dogs and he had like cats and he had like frogs and lizards and stuff. So Hank has quite a few animals in the house. So yeah, most likely to start a zoo goes to Hank. The next award goes to a student who is was undecided about where to go for college. They had a few choices here and there. Ultimately, they were more or less I wouldn't say dragged in. It still was their decision, but let's just say there was heavy pressure to attend a certain school, and that's because that certain school had someone else who was in the class. And so the student who's most likely to get dragged into attending college with Tyler goes to Grace. Grace was Tyler got in a school and she was trying to convince Grace to go there. And Grace eventually relented. I don't know how much of that was voluntary. I don't know how much of that was peer pressure. But Grace, you can always blink twice if you need help. Yeah. So for those, and then so for the next award, for those of you who don't know, I keep saying this a lot, but you guys, let's just say I tend to write really clear and assignments that are really easy to follow, and that it's really easy to know exactly what you're doing on these, right? Obviously. Actually, that's not true. I tend to, let's just say that I'm not great at writing very clear assignments. However, there is one student who, for some reason, always knows exactly what I'm asking for, even when I'm not asking, even when I don't know. And so the award for the only person who knows what Mr. Who is asking for goes to Hannah. And that's just because, to be honest, I don't even know what I want sometimes. So, which I think is really funny. But yeah, Hannah, whenever she does an assignment, it's always, for some reason, exactly what I was looking for. So, as a tip for all of you students, if you guys can read your teacher's minds, it really helps a lot. So I'm just going to say that it's all your fault for not being able to read my mind. Yeah. So yeah, the only person who knows what I'm asking for goes to Hannah. Honestly, that's because I don't even know what I want sometimes. It's true for life, I guess, too. So the next award goes to, as you all know, we are currently in a pandemic. We're all currently in COVID right now, the COVID pandemic. One of the reasons why the pandemic is as widespread as it is because a lot of people are asymptomatic, which means that they might have COVID, but they don't show any symptoms of it. That was something that contributed to the spread of COVID. However, for those of you who don't know, we were actually in the middle of a second pandemic, and that second pandemic was senioritis. And that senioritis is a disease that has been has really plagued generations of students. It never has seemed to gone away. There's no vaccine for it. There's no cure for it. It's very contagious. If you are, and it's one of those things where it's one of the things where it only affects you if you are a senior. And the moment you stop becoming a senior, the disease goes away. And the moment you become a senior, you get the disease. So it's a very, very, very dangerous, very contagious disease. It won't kill you, but it may have drastic consequences for your academics. Now, what those of you who don't know, senioritis, like COVID, can be symptomatic and asymptomatic. If you're asymptomatic from senioritis, it means you don't show any symptoms, and which means that you may have senioritis, but for all intents and purposes, you don't. So the student who is most likely to be asymptomatic from senioritis goes to Bryn, and this is because she self-diagnosed herself with senioritis, but she never actually showed any symptoms. Bryn was always working really hard. She always turned in all of her assignments on time. And I remember one time, like maybe a couple weeks ago, she was like, senioritis is, I'm like, it's super hard being motivated as a senior. And I'm just like, Bryn, like you're usually one of, the most consistent students I've had. So if you're having a rough time, then I can't really say, then I don't know what other seniors are feeling. So yeah, so we're in the middle of a second pandemic. So the most likely to be asymptomatic from senioritis goes to Bryn. When you have senioritis, but you don't actually show any symptoms, so no one would actually know that you actually were a senior and you were suffering from senioritis. Very dangerous disease. In fact, actually, since everyone here is a junior, I think, maybe besides one, I think Hank's a sophomore. Since most of you are juniors, you guys are all going to get senioritis next year. I'm not trying to I don't want you guys to panic, but you guys will all get senioritis next year. Very dangerous disease. There's no cure for it. The only thing you can do is mitigate symptoms. So yeah, just be aware. Be aware of senioritis next year. So this one student, okay, so the next award, this one student joined us second semester. First semester, they were in Miss Brown's class. Second semester, they joined our class. Now, I can tell you right now, honestly, I'm sure that at some point they were like, can I go back to Miss Brown's class? Because they were like, Mr. Hu is so, Mr. Hu, I don't know if I want to spend more time with Mr. Hu. He's absolutely crazy. His class is wild, doesn't make any sense. So, and I'm sure many times she's asked herself, can I go back to Miss Brown's class? So the next award goes to the award for, can I go back to Miss Brown's class goes to Leilani. poor Leilani, she's just like, I don't know what I'm doing here. Why did I get stuck in Mr. Hu's class? Miss Brown is so much better. So Leilani, this award goes for you. And this is because this is for when you want to when you switch out of a class, but you actually want to go back. Yeah, I think actually you might have had, I think I actually had one more student in this class that also switched into from Miss Brown's class. And honestly, they probably like Miss Brown's class more. I'm kind of the bottom of the barrel when it comes to physics teachers.
Thank you, Mr.
Yeah.
Hugh. Actually, I actually do like your class.
Oh, okay, that's nice. Don't worry, it's that's good. That means a lot. I do consider myself to be the bottom of the barrel though, so I'm definitely less confident than the other two. But I'm glad at least one person likes it. So thank you, Leilani. But yeah, so maybe next year you can go back to Miss Brown's class. So the next award goes to someone who this next award, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't talk to her a whole lot, and that's because I find her brother to be a lot more interesting. So usually what happens is when I get in a breakout room with her, I never ask her any questions about her life because she's not interesting at all. It's her brother that's interesting. And I think your brother is in 5th grade, or it's either your brother is, I think your brother's in 5th grade, right? So I always go and talk to her brother, and I always try to tell your brother jokes, and your brother always tells me jokes, and your brother's really funny. And to be honest, your brother's just more interesting than you. And so I don't like talking to you at all. So the only reason, and honestly, if ever possible, I would switch you out of the class for your brother. So the award for my brother is more interesting than me goes to Diana. And this is because I always want to talk to Diana's brother instead of her. Diana's brother is very funny. Well, at least he thinks he's funny. I think he's funny. Diana does not think she's funny. So Diana, so make sure you tell your brother to take physics when he goes to high school. And yeah, so ask your brother how he's doing right now, by the way.
It's the way I already knew who you were talking about. When you said brother, it just clicked. I'm so glad he's not here right now because he would agree with you and I don't agree with you.
Yeah, so honestly, so I would probably say 80% of my conversations with Diana revolve around the newest joke her brother came up with that apparently was not funny, but I think is hilarious. So yeah, so poor Diana, she just wants to tell her story, but instead she's getting overshadowed by her 5th grade brother. So yeah, so even her award right now is talking about her brother and not her. So yeah, I think that goes to show just how interesting her brother is. So the next award goes for a student who wants to become a doctor, and they're also wants to become a doctor, and I would say wants to become a doctor, and they were very hardworking throughout the entire year. And I think next year they're going to be. So right now they're currently a junior. Next year they're going to become a senior, and they are going to face senioritis firsthand, just like we're facing COVID right now. And so because of this, I imagine that eventually, when they become a doctor, they will eventually develop a cure for senioritis, just like we've developed a vaccine for COVID. Eventually, somewhere, I hope in the future, we will develop a cure for senioritis. So the award for most likely to develop a cure for senioritis goes to Tracy. This is because Tracy wants to be a doctor and she's working super hard at doing distance learning. And next year, she's going to experience senioritis firsthand. And I think you know how when we personally like deal with it, a lot of the doctors are personally inspired or motivated to like fight a disease or virus or something because they've had personal experience with it or their family has personal experience with it. So Tracy is going to have personal experience with senioritis next year. So eventually she's going to develop a cure for it somewhere down the future. So yeah, the most likely to develop a cure for senioritis goes to Tracy. Tracy wants to be a doctor. So eventually she's going to make a cure for all you seniors, for all you future seniors next year. Maybe she'll develop a cure next year. I don't know. We'll see. So the next award goes to someone who I think I met like twice during the school year. Not because they were in person, but because it was like, I think I actually chaperoned prom this year, and I think I actually I think I might have saw them one other time. I think so every time they saw, so out of the couple of times they've seen me, they were just way too excited to see me. Like way too excited. I don't think anyone should be that excited for anything in life. So the award for I'm way too excited to see Mr. Who goes to Annie. And this is because honestly, she was just way too excited to see me. I don't think I've been that excited for anything in my entire life. So yeah, yeah, honestly, I remember the first time she was just like, "It's me," and I'm like, "Yay!" My lack of enthusiasm was very apparent. That's because I tend to lack enthusiasm for anything. Um, so yeah. Um, so we are coming up with the last two awards. The penultimate award goes to someone who is a bit of a two-face. They have two personalities. On the outside in class, they're the nicest person ever. They're always like asking me how I'm doing. They're always super nice. They're always, absolutely sweet. But when they are on the soccer field, I've seen them play soccer before. They are absolutely terrifying. They are just like they're just all over the place. They're just pushing, they're shoving, they're just kicking things, and they're throwing things. Okay, well, I mean, kicking soccer balls, and they're throwing soccer balls, and they're headbutting soccer balls. So but they're a bit of a menace on the soccer field, which is kind of funny because they're so nice in person. So they sort of have this dual personality. So the Harvey Two-Face Award goes to Tyler for having one side of her face being really nice and the other side of her face being really scary when she's on the soccer field. Yeah, so I saw her on play and I was like, holy cow, she's absolutely terrifying. I do not want to mess with her. So yeah, the Harvey Two-Face Award goes to Tyler for being nice on one side and being scary on the other side. We have the one last award for this class. This student is a runner, and for college, they are actually running D3 in Maine. So in terms of why they're going to Maine, one can argue that it's because they're running, but one can also argue that they're going to Maine just to get away from me, and that they are trying to literally go to the farthest school possible from MA. So the award for most likely to go to Maine to escape Mr. Who goes to Claire. I think geographically, I'm pretty sure Maine is like literally the farthest point possible from Maine. Like it's like literally like the corner of the United States. So I don't think you could be I don't think it's possible to be any farther in the U.S. away from MA. So yeah, most likely to go to Maine to escape Mr. Who goes to Claire. For literally going to the school that is the furthest possible point away from MA. So yeah, I think that concludes the awards for today. That's all we only have 24 people in the class. Oh, 25 people actually. So that's all 24, 25 awards. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. As you can tell, I did put a lot of thought into these. Hopefully you found yours funny or interesting. I think I'm funny. So yeah, that's what I do every year. So hopefully this was not horrible. um, so so for the rest of today, yeah. So hopefully the awards were fun and not too bad. For the rest of today, we have like what do we have? An hour and 20 minutes, hour 20 minutes or something. So we are going to have a final. Kidding, we're not gonna have a final. Usually, if we were in person, I would have just seen all of your reactions and I would have laughed, but I didn't see anything. So I don't even know if any of you guys said anything. Okay, so we're not gonna have a final, and we have an hour and 20 minutes left. So for the last hour and 20 minutes, you can either work on any assignments that you need to. You can work on any previous assignments that you may have missed or you still want to work on. I also wrote a trivia about me. So if you want to try to answer some questions about me, it's on Canvas, but I don't want to link it right now. You obviously don't have to. It's not graded or anything. I mean, it could be worth 1,000 points if I really wanted to make it. But if you're bored and you want to just try to figure out how much you know about me, you can answer the trivia as well. I gave you a bit of a weed chuckle. So if you're interested, you can try to answer some trivia about me. Otherwise, you can finish any previous assignments. We have an hour and 20 minutes left, so you can just use your time however way you wish. I have a fun activity for you, which is trivia if you want to do it. Otherwise, you can work on any assignments. And then, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed your awards. And then, yeah, we kind of class ends at what, 10:45? So yeah, if any of you guys want a final right now, I can write. I'm sure I could write one in like 10 minutes for you. But I don't think anyone wants a final. um, Yeah, I'm just opening breakout rooms if you want to talk to people in your group. But we actually don't have many people left here. We only have like 10 people. So yeah.